What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some hardcore. And we're going to listen to a track by Lockjaw. Now, I did 2 reactions to this release like 2 years ago, so they're probably in that old school style where I was a bit more freewheeling and a bit more insane. But nevertheless, this is a record that I've enjoyed for a long time, and in fact, it came out 10 years ago, which is really weird to think about, which is right around the time when I started to get more serious about expanding my hardcore collection. I've explained it before. Gabber, as it was in the classic era in the 90s, is a genre that caught my ear very early on, but when I got turntables and started to buy records, I was a teenager, about to hit my 20s, didn't have a lot of spare money, so it was ultimately a process of choosing what genres I was going to try to fill out my collection with. And because acid trance and acid techno were even more central to what I was into, those were the genres that I tried to focus on. Now, I ended up getting a lot of hard house, as well as some progressive trance and melodic trance, so I did get some variety, including about a dozen hardcore records, only a few of which I still have from back then. But yes, around 2015, especially as you get to 2016 and 2017, I really began to buy a lot more hardcore, and so now, in the modern era, my hardcore collection is much more respectable, but this was a release that came across my radar right around the time when I was beginning to find, through the help of people like Roberto, aka Formek, the early hardcore sound, which was really what I was looking for without really knowing that by name. And yes, Lockjaw, he was a producer. It's like Boz Boom. I think that's actually his real name. But yes, I had been aware of his work for years before, but had never really heard it. And apparently he was on hiatus, or he had, gone away from making hardcore for a long time. And it was through this release, and I think one other, that he sort of came back to the hardcore scene. So this is from 2015, now a decade ago, but it actually represented a return to making hardcore at the time it came out. In any case, I reacted to my 2 favorite tunes from this record a couple years ago, which is to say Hibba and Tear This MF Up. But we're going to listen to a tune that is probably my third favorite on the record. There's 5 tracks, so it's definitely a value release in terms of giving you multiple tunes. But it's called I Will Be Master? Yeah, I Will Be Master, which is a bit of an odd phrasing. But yeah, it's a bit more austere. Like Hibba has a real, fist in the air kind of energy. Tear This MF Up is a bit more wicked and driving. This one, I would say, is more on the wicked end, but is a bit less of a marquee tune. It's more like a filler tune. And I want to be clear, because I say this in some of my reactions, and that word is used elsewhere as sort of a pejorative. To me, filler doesn't mean a nothing track, a track that you just kind of throw in because you don't really have anything else to use. For me, a filler tune is a track that maintains the energy and vibe of your set, but allows other tracks to be a bit more marquee in the mix. So they preserve what you're doing, they express the sound that you're going for in your set, they just might be more supportive rather than one of the key or main tracks of the set. So, no disrespect when I call this a great filler tune. In any case, once again, and I don't know how visible it is, but this is actually like a root beer colored vinyl, and it's sort of marbled, but not so easy to see. At first glance, it might just appear to be a black record, but it's actually not. I do like the logo. I don't know if this is supposed to be Lockjaw himself, but yes, once again, shout out to Painbringer Music, which is the label this one is on. It's the Come As One EP, and Come As One is one of the tracks on the release. But yes, here we go. This is I Will Be Master from Lockjaw 2015 on Painbringer Music, the Come As One EP. And this sleeve is unrelated. point, direct, wicked. Yeah, that synth line really is reminiscent of a lot of 90s hardcore, so it is true to its word. It is an early hardcore throwback tune, even if it's made in the last decade, just about. I think it was March 2015 when this came out. And yeah, I love the drum and bass rhythms that you hear, very artcore, very classic gabber. I do especially enjoy that section near the end. I said best part on the record, I should say best part on the track, because again, HIPAA and Tear This MF Up I am even more fond of, despite liking this one a great deal. But yeah, I like the way it's very intense, very wicked, and then that synth melody sort of fades into the distance. It's just that rolling drum and bass rhythm for like half a measure, and then there's that quick sample, I forget what it is, but it's true to like old school hardcore samples, which were often like hard house samples, in that they would have these pitched up, almost chipmunk like vocals, and we get one of those, and then it just drops in. And because it drops in with that distorted bass line kick, that classic hardcore kick and bass line combo, but without a lot of the other activity around it, it's just really focused and epic and rocking in that part. So I really enjoy that section the most on this tune. And yeah, like I said, it may not be, to me, the standout track on the release. It may not be one of the best early hardcore tunes I've ever heard, but it is absolutely like an A+ filler tune, which again, for me, is not a dirty word at all. So really enjoy this one, and one that I would use in any set. It's definitely a track that speaks to the type of hardcore I was discovering, again, around like 2016, certainly by the time you get to 2017, which is just further to say that in 2015, when I sort of committed myself, you know what, I need to get more hardcore. I've been listening to it a little bit more, I need to start getting some. And again, by that point, I was going to some hardcore parties, and I say again because there's been a couple like tracks I reacted to, one from Anger Fist, one from Anime recently, and I was talking how I like different types of hardcore, including what is often called mainstream hardcore, and sometimes there's a bit of a rivalry that like early hardcore and like mainstream, and it's a bit back and forth. I like them both, but when I first started getting back into hardcore, I was mainly finding like mainstream hardcore tunes, and then by this time when I got this record, I was beginning to know which labels to look for early hardcore, and so this was sort of one of the records that propelled me in that direction very strongly. So I'm always very sympathetic to this record. Big shout out to Lockjaw, big shout out to Painbringer Music. Let me know what you think of the tune. I will see you next time. Peace.